I'm not saying the government should know what they want, because that's just never going to happen. But this is a Citroen C4e, an electric version of the car. And it's about £8 dearer to start with than a petrol equivalent. Now, if you get into better spec versions of it, of the 3 different options and 3 different trim specs, you can get this one at about 37 and the top of the range petrol at about 34. It still comes in cheaper. And now they're talking about getting rid of the government incentives to be able to make an electric car more affordable. And on the other hand, they're talking about brownouts and blackouts and how much air grid can supply the network. So if you're thinking about buying an electric car, I actually don't know what to tell you right now. Well, first of all, if you buy it now, there definitely are grants available. And this particular car has got to be one of the best looking electric vehicles that's currently on sale today in Ireland. So yes, this is a top of the range one. The front of it is good looking. The back of it is good looking. Side profile, it's good looking. It's not without its problems. If you haven't seen my petrol review of the C4, you should have a look at it up there, because I'll go into more detail about the interior and the boot spoiler. That's a bit problematic. But in this car, you still get a 380 litre boot. There's places to store your cables. There's still the quirky little iPad holder. There is a problem with the coffee cup area, in that it's just not big enough for most standard size coffee cups, and you're driving along with the lid being suspended by the holder and wondering, if I go over a bump, is the bottom of the cup just going to explode and go everywhere? But even bumps in this car are actually better than most other cars, because the suspension is absolutely fantastic. If you just like gently floating over bumps and imperfections, then this is the car for you. And actually, electric cars sometimes can be a bit more thuddy due to the weight. It's all ironed out in this C4. So yeah, there's room for your family in the back. Yes, there's room to store your cables, and yes, it's got a nice interior, and you can program the car to charge so it's nice and toasty on a cold winter's morning. That's assuming you have electricity being supplied by your country to charge the car. So it's got lots of nice things going on, and as I said, I like the way this car doesn't really look that different from a standard C4, so most people won't even know it's an electric car. It's just the E badge on the side actually that makes all the difference. So let's jump into it. I'll talk you through some of the benefits of having this car over a petrol one, and just some benefits of what this car has over other EVs on the market. If you haven't subscribed to Nobby on Cars just yet, maybe it's your first time here, please consider doing that. Let's jump in, we'll take it for a spin and see what the electric version of the C4 is all about. Motor output of this EV is just under 140 brake horsepower, and we've got 250 Newton meters of torque. And when you accelerate, it's not that big, great burst of shoving in the back that you sometimes get with an EV. Equally, the sport mode doesn't really change much, and it certainly doesn't make the steering any heavier, which in my opinion is incredibly light. But do you know what? Maybe that's exactly what you want in a car like this, and if you do, then that's fine. Because the suspension is so soft and comfortable and absorbent, it does mean it's a little bit floaty into the corners. It's not to the point where it doesn't go around bends. It just shoots wide. If you put the power down and you try to turn into a corner, you're not quite sticking into the bend. So again, is someone looking for this car going to be driving it with that type of driving in mind? The answer is probably no. It's also pretty economical. It's doing somewhere between 14 and 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And basically, if you're watching this in the UK, you might get somewhere from 150 miles, or in Ireland up to 240 kilometers. Now, you will start the car with a range of over 300 on a full charge, which by the way takes about 7 hours from a wall box. Something else that's very good about the C4, the eC4 that is, or the C4e, it will do 100 kilowatt charging as standard. Volkswagen, for example, will charge you more for that privilege. So it's kind of future-proofed in the sense that you'd actually struggle right now in 2021 and 2022, I might as well call it, into next year, to find many chargers that are even capable of 100 kilowatts. So I'd imagine we're 5 years away from 100 kilowatt charging even being the norm in Ireland. You know, On the continent, maybe not so. But here, that's just the way it is, baby. The seats are really, really comfortable. You're like on a long journey, they're okay. It could be a little bit more support on the back. There is a hump in the floor, but you get 2 USB-Cs. So at least everyone will be happy in terms of charging. But again, because it's not a full ground up EV, that means you're going to have to sacrifice little things from the petrol car, which include that transmission tunnel. If you like volume control knobs, there's one. If you like heads up display, there's one of those too. And you can obviously time the charging so that it comes on whenever you want it to, maybe at a cheaper rate at night time and all that stuff. The steering wheel, it's got good driver aids on it, they're easy to see. The driving position is good. And you know what, after driving this car for not a long time at all, you kind of forget that it's electric. You just get on with it. There's a bit of a whine out of it. Obviously electric cars have that. You can flip your forward gear into B mode. So regen is there. There's no paddles to control the level of it, but you can just tap that down. Now, I've been driving it for 48 hours and I've used half a tank of charge. So I've now got 118 kilometers with a smidgen under 50% left in the battery. But I do think the car itself is actually quite easy on range and certainly economy if you just take it easy. 13, 14 is pretty good. Now, the temperatures at the moment are sort of low teens during the day, so we're not quite at actual cold temperatures just yet, it has to be said. A lot of the standard kit on the top of the range on the electric version, so your wireless charging, your heated seats, your heated steering wheel, they're all nice luxuries that, again, when you're looking at the price of the electric one, you're saying, oh yeah, but like 34 grand, I could have the top of the range and all that in the petrol version for less than 34. It's true, it's true. But there's definitely something smug about being able to fill up your car with range for a fraction of the cost of petrol. And if you are watching this in the UK at the moment, can you even get petrol? And things like pulling up to schools and stuff, you just feel a little bit less guilty. Pulling up to where kids are walking around and your car isn't pumping out fumes that are bad for their health. And there's definitely something in that. And I think it's only going to get more and more slightly uncomfortable for people to be pulling up to things like schools in a diesel, sitting there with the car on idle and chugging out fumes that kids have to breathe in. That's not cool. So at the risk of sounding like a car manufacturer's ad, if you're thinking about starting your electric journey, well, if you are, I'm actually not sure if it is worth waiting anymore, because cars and the range, we're kind of in an all right space now. I mean, seriously, does anyone do more than 250 kilometers in a day all the time? And secondly, I don't know, and nobody does, and certainly the government don't know, how long these grants are going to stick around for. And that is a crucial part. Without that grant, you might as well slap somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 euro extra onto the cost of this car. And as long as everyone wants us to keep buying electric, the prices cannot go up. It's as simple as that. They're blaming everything on emissions, cows, methane, dairy, we're eating too much meat, we're using too much petrol and diesel. Okay, fine. Make electric a realistic solution for us, but don't put the prices of them up just as people are kind of getting their head around what could be their next car as an electric vehicle. I hope I'm making sense, and if you feel kind of as annoyed as I am that they're thinking about doing this so soon into people's electric journeys, then please comment below and let us know what you think. Maybe you're watching this review somewhere else in Europe and you're like, this is what we're doing here. Let us know, because God knows Ireland needs more practical solutions to getting more EVs on the road. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.